Welcome, ghouls, ghoulettes, and guesties to GonstFM Off Air, the official podcast companion to 66.6 GonstFM, the internet radio station dedicated to the band Ghost and the wider Gonst community. I'm Papa X.
And I'm Uncle Ghoul.
And we are continuing onward with our Witch Images series, in which we explore the music videos of Ghost. Today's episode, we are diving into Monstrance Clock, directed by Rob Semmer from the album Infesti Sumam. You missed out, dude. You got the old shaft on this one, because they recorded at the El Rey in Los Angeles and Webster Hall in New York City for this and spliced the footage, but you missed it by a date.
I did, yep. I was the date before that on that tour, which before the Webster Hall show. That always seems to be the case, but, hey, maybe one day I'll be at a show that's taped for a Ghost video, who knows? Maybe they'll remake the video for this song, and I'll have another chance to be in the crowd.
That would be awesome. Yeah, because this video is a performance video, but it's not a performance video in the way that Secular Haze was. This is actually a live performance video with the song laid over it. And it starts off with the confessional booth at this particular show. And it's a few fans that are just, they're just talking about, oh, I really love this band. And I can't wait till they come back and, stuff like that, which I thought was really neat. That's a really cool, I think for any new fans, it's a good peek into what the shows used to be like.
Yeah. And I think the understanding about that time, we're so used to, you can interestingly compare it to some of our newer videos of Ghost performing live, right? Which we'll talk about later on in this series. But the shows have changed so much, right? Back then, it was much more trying to portray this, satanic cult, just a simple show. You had the Sisters of Sin, you had a couple of the other things, but it shows in this video that it's just the band performing. It's a good old-fashioned rock show with just lights and fog, and the costumes do all the work, like we talked about in Secular Haze. It's interesting, even just looking at the crowd and seeing how different the crowd demographic is compared to now. It really is, like you said, a good introduction and a kind of time capsule back to how things were.
Yep, next to zero phones, no face paint in the crowd, nothing. No,
you don't really see a lot of cosplay. You don't really see a lot of young people. And when I say young people, I mean, you don't see 16-year-olds filling up the crowd. Ghost has become way more multi-generational as time has gone on. And this is a time where you can probably imagine that most people who are coming to these shows are probably people who had, heard of them from another band or, were already fans of metal. It wasn't... Nowadays, you see everyone who from, Taylor Swift fans to K-pop fans being Ghost. Like, Ghost is for everyone now. Where here it was a little bit more of a kind of closed thing, and it really does reflect in this video the people you see and the vibes of these shows and where they're playing and who they're playing. It's very interesting. It is a time capsule.
Yeah, it's very much the time of if you knew, you knew. And
yes, absolutely.
And it's interesting though. It's I love the simplicity. Once again, this that's going to be a term that gets brought up a lot with Papa 2's era and some of Papa 3's era, because I feel like Papa 3 had a little bit of simplicity to it as well. However, that was still when Ghost was starting to get on the major upswing. This here
simplicity has always been a part of classic Ghost to me. Is that it's not. It's memorable, but it's not too, it's not anything crazy. Like, bombast was not a thing for whatever reason, even through the Meliora cycle, it was always very simple. When it did, get very over the top and melodramatic and bombastic, of course, towards the end of the cycle. But the beginning of that cycle show, especially the tours and the shows, it's very simplistic.
I like how they're showing the barrier shots in this video. It's a lot of back and forth between the fans and the band, and you could see literally the cap size of some of these venues, dude, and they were so small. Just the shot of them showing the barrier, you can literally see the back of the venue, and it's just floor level. Mm-hmm. It's mostly just floor level and gold and red halogen lights with a ton of smoke. Papa's drenched in red. And I like that it's also capturing the energy of the ghouls, because this is obviously the old era ghouls, and it wasn't like it is now. You know what I mean? There's a different stage presence there, and Papa still plays to the crowd, but it's not too much. He's very subtle. His movements meant more. You know what I mean? At least to me, that's what it looks like.
No, it's a sense of regalness. It was a more commanding presence. As opposed to just some kind of a funny character on stage who's a rock star, right? And the ghouls at the time, there wasn't this understanding that they were hired guns. The understanding was that they were just as important as Papa. Whether that's true or not is up to debate for the listener, but that was what they were portraying, you know? And I think that it's important that, like, as you watch this at the time, you know, their presence is very important here. You know, they aren't just hired showmen. They are the band, you know, and it shows in the shots how they're equally shown as much as Papa.
No moves are wasted, I will say that much. Everybody out there listening should know that every time that we talk about these videos, we do have them on a loop next to us. That way we can visually give you what's going on. Because I gotta say, I saw a couple comments on this that were like, hey, I've been a fan of this band for a long time, and I've never seen this video. This is my first time seeing this video. And I think that maybe Monstrance Clock is the least viewed. I wouldn't say it is number one, the least viewed, but, you know, it wasn't the first song that I thought, like, whenever I'm sitting here going, I want to go watch a Ghost music video, this is not the first song that I think about when I'm like, let me go watch a video.
No. And the first minute, too, is really gold as far as, like, behind-the-scenes shots. You know, there's some great shots of just the band, you know, Papa sitting backstage, waiting to go on, you know, Earth drumming on his knee, it looks like, you know, with the sticks, and just them gearing up to play this show. And it's just kind of this candid moment that, like, is really awesome and kind of a rare sight. And my favorite thing to see, them walking on stage and stuff. And just, you know, I love seeing that. And it works so well.
Yeah, like the little circle hug they do. And, you know, like there's good zoom in shots of the guitars and the guitar picks and them, like, you know, kind of putting like the little final, you know, floof and, you know, button up on the robes and shit.
And you can just imagine what that moment is like. You know, this isn't the case of like a big arena where there's like thousands of people on the other side. They're right there. You know, this small venue, they're not far away from the energy of the crowd. They can hear the crowd. They can feel that energy. And they're probably, you know, Mass Ball is probably playing and they're ready to walk on stage, you know. You can really imagine that moment, and it perfectly encapsulates that.
I literally just watched the shot of Papa walking from the small hallway, right? Like, because literally it's a hallway, and he takes a left and goes right up the steps, and there's the stage. There is quite literally a brick wall separating Papa from the rest of the venue right there by the fans.
And just imagine, you know, as a fan, knowing that he's right there. It's just the moment was, you know, having seen that tour and seeing that moment, it was a insane moment when he came on stage, you know, during Infestissimum, and, you know, it was just such a moment where the whole place surged and everyone pushes forward, and it, you know, sweaty punk rock shows, metal shows, you know, if you've seen any local band in a small venue like that, you know the vibe of how it felt, you know, and this video captures it so well, of seeing everyone, their fists in the air in the crowd, and, you know, people just kind of holding on to each other and singing the lyrics. In just a big sweaty room, you know, they're bearded up in the air.
Nary a phone in sight.
No, yeah. And I'm sure that those are times where the band felt so much more connected than later tours. But now I think they feel more connected too, right? You know, because of the no phones that's on the current tour. You know, it's like that's probably what they're missing.
Yeah, and
they didn't have to ban phones to get that shot.
No, I think I saw a phone, like maybe one or two in the crowd, and it was barely noticeable, like the fact that I had to look for it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really awesome because it does such a good job of showing like how concert culture has evolved as well, you know?
Yeah, because the crowd is not necessarily like, they're very reserved. I will say that, you know, granted, they probably were told, hey, we're shooting this music video, we need to do like 1 or 2 takes on it. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, this is your chance to go fucking crazy. You're going to be in a music video, and the crowd is just being themselves, which I like that, because there's nobody there for clout. So there's nobody there trying to get their moment in. Like if they see the camera, they're there like actually enjoying.
There's no one throwing things on the stage. There's no one trying to be a main character. There's no one doing any of that. This is people enjoying the music and immersing themselves in this song. And this song makes me feel every time, even at the ritual last time, I wasn't like going crazy for it. It's a very kind of, you know, ritualistic song in the experience where you just kind of got to throw your hands up and just enjoy the music, you know, and kind of relax as this whole night is coming to a close.
I think that's why Monstrance Clock is the perfect closing Ghost song to me, is because like, you've been on this entire roller coaster of a ride, as Papa 4 would say, the roller coaster, but you're on the peak, you know, by the time you've reached the middle of the set, and then you got some bangers towards the end, but then like Monstrance Clock is very much a downbeat banger of a song, you know, because it still rocks. Like it still rocks pretty fucking hard, but it's got this swagger to it that's just real calm and collected and commanding. Like I think that's probably the perfect word to describe it, especially since this was a Papa 2 era song. It is a commanding track.
And it's a ceremonial end of the ritual, you know? It lyrically and metaphorically, everything is the ending of the shows, and it used to, from the start of the show to the end of the show, it plays a role there story wise and how it makes you feel. Once those choir bits come, that last chorus is coming up, the show's coming to a close, whether they have an encore or not. Like now, that we're towards the end and the ritual is complete. And this video does such a great job because, as you mentioned, it starts with people talking about can't wait to see them come back. It is the closer, it's the grand finale, and it's done in the best possible way of imagery of classic occult imagery and just a slow ceremonial romper.
Yeah, and again, I think that might be the actual perfect treatment for this video. Like when you get a music video director and they write a treatment for it, but the person, I'm not saying like this is exactly what happened, but if it was me, why don't we just capture the vibe of the room since this is your closer? Like we just talked about, like let's capture what this song means to your fans and what, because it is a time capsule. We keep coming back around to it, but it is a time capsule of this song being the closer for this era and what it used to be like when the song was played. And I think it suits it very well, because like you probably could have written something, like for like a typical music video, like actually have like a script and like a
and as
cast.
I think of it, I could imagine a very almost Year Zero-esque follow-up with, black candles and the showing everything happening, and a very graphic video. I could imagine that would be kind of cool, but at the same time, it could get cheesy very quickly. And so I think this is a more authentic way of presenting the song and its feelings without necessarily going so overtly over the top to where it becomes cheesy easily or cliche.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100% there. It just looks so good, man. I like that most of the camera shots for this that I would like to get into just briefly.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot to say about it, but there's also not a lot to get into about it because it is a live performance. But I like where the cameras are positioned. The cameras are not like on like truss systems or like boom systems where they're hovering over the band from up top. They're in the crowd. In the front barrier, the camera's in the crowd, showing you like an upward view, like if you were there watching this, which I think is probably the point of the video, is to convey like, hey, here's the POV, you're at a Ghost concert in 2013,
Absolutely. Yeah, it's quite crazy to see that, and I love it. Keeps panning back to this one woman dancing,
yeah, you talking about the one in like the Ghost tank top or whatever, like a little short t-shirt. Yeah.
And there's such great shots of like just real close-ups of the crowd, like right up in their face. You can see their wristbands and everything they're wearing. And shots from the crowd where you can see people's arms in the way of the camera. It literally, like you said, is the POV of being in the crowd.
Yeah, the shot of like the gold halogen lights beaming down, and you see a dude throwing the horns up and a dude fist pumping. Like it's kind of like right at the 1 minute and 40-second mark, I think. But that's the energy. Like I think like that shot right there, that's the energy.
Somewhere around like the late 3 minutes to 4 minute mark, there's also a great shot of like a cross. And it turns into like the camera shifts to be inverted. It's a red glowing cross. It's like such a cool little effect and little visual thing.
Yeah, because again, Ghost didn't have a lot going on. Really stage wise, it was just a backdrop, maybe some stained glass on a backdrop, and then some lights and some smoke. And like we literally mentioned this before in Secular Haze, like that's all they needed. You know what I mean? It's really it.
Yeah, I mean, it was simplistic, as simple as you could possibly be. They really didn't come with much, but at the same time, like if you listen to our conversation with Niels Nielsen, they talk about how on that tour, they were bringing everything, lighting, they were bringing the smoke machine, they were bringing everything you wouldn't typically have to bring, so that their show was more set them apart from everyone else. And they looked super professional and had their show all the time. Their own gear, like the venue might provide lights, but they're bringing their own lighting rigs and their own, equipment, even back then, even if it cost them money. And it shows in this video of they're proud of the stage show that they presented. And they would do a lot at the time too, to kind of make up for that. Like don't ever feel to people out there listening, if you didn't see these shows, like they were not impressive shows because of how little was going on. It was a sensory overload, from the incense burning on stage to people coming out to light the incense before the shows to, smelling that incense. And, Papa had the thurible and you could smell it. And, the lights and feeling the heat from those lights and everything. And just, it really does. And everyone in the room, it was way more immersive than the shows now.
Right.
And this video captures that,
Yeah, because there were no video walls. There's no video walls taping Papa or the ghouls where like people are like way in the back that they could see it, because the videos typically were small enough to where no matter where you were at, it was a good seat. And I feel like you could still get that experience even if you were in the little balcony area, or if you were right there at barrier, or just in the middle of the crowd.
Yeah, it was consistent all over, and wherever you were, and it really played along to the experience of going to see some type of satanic worship service, of a tightly packed venue. You typically, if you think about that, you think of them happening in occult small venues in the basements of clubs, not, you don't think about them happening at like a big arena, so they use the venue to the immersiveness of that experience to their advantage.
Absolutely. I think the cinematography, like if you want to actually break down like shortly, because it's like, again, it's not much to get into.
Yeah.
I think the cinematography is very well done. Like the frame rate in which it's shot, the angles they're using, like I mentioned earlier, like being in the crowd and stuff, the lighting itself, how it's still dark. The lighting is
amazing.
It's still dark.
Well, even like when they're backstage, I love how it's almost this yellowish green lighting that comes over them, and it makes Papa look almost like he's not wearing paint at around the 49-second mark.
Yeah.
It's so cool, like how he's kind of washed out, but also, it's dark. And then when they're on stage, the heavy uses of reds and oranges and, the album colors,
Yeah, my favorite shot in this video, bar none, is around the 20-second mark, whenever it's the red smoke and it's just Papa and it's his silhouette and he's like coming onto the stage like, holy shit. Like that is imposing as hell.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a good shot.
It's a crazy shot. I also love the shot just before that of the ghouls coming on stage and, they're in this purplish lighting, and then shot at 35 seconds of Papa with his arms outstretched and his head back in that classic Papa pose with the blue light behind them and the ghouls just as silhouettes in the background.
Yeah,
it's such a killer shot, and you can see, those beams of light coming through and the mics. It's like such a perfect action figure shot.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? I think I'm gonna make that shot of Papa with the red halo, like the red lighting and the smoke. That looks like a good fucking thumbnail, dude.
Yeah, dude.
I'm just watching it and I'm like, you know what? That's probably gonna be the thumbnail for this one. It's so good.
It's too good.
Yeah.
There's also a really funny shot at 2:57 of a girl with black hair, and she looks like she's having a full-on religious experience. Like her eyes are just closed, and she's got both of her hands up in the air, and she's just like living for that moment.
And that's what it's all about, kids.
That's the feeling. And honestly, that shot in general, because you see the most burly looking metal guy with Baphomet on his shirt, and then you see this shorter girl right next to him, and two probably very different people enjoying the same moment together because over a common love. Yeah, I just think that's beautiful.
Yeah, and I was actually having this conversation earlier. I think this would be a good way to like round this conversation out with this right here. I like the fact that you don't see a ton of face paint in the crowd and that you don't see a ton of cosplay, because it shows the individualism of each person, and you can literally see all the walks of life that are there to enjoy this. Now, I'm not saying that every ghost show now is filled to the brim with it, but there's absolutely a majority of that.
There's a point where you can tell, if you come into town to see ghosts today, you can tell who's going to the ghost show or not.
Yeah.
It's become like Kiss back in the day when you would see people always painting their face as, a member of Kiss. So I know where they're going, and that's not a bad thing at all. Myself, I went in face paint, you went in face paint for the show, we did. But at the same time, there is an individuality to that I do appreciate, as you mentioned, where it's like, okay, you don't know who's going to that show. It could be anyone. You can see your gut. I've heard of people, like, I remember reading a review once of a guy who's like, I felt out of place. I came from work and I was still in my office clothes and I showed up to the show, but everyone was so accepting of me. And, I let me in the pit, even though I was wearing literally looked like a stereotypical nerd. And it's one of those things where that's how it feels,
Bro looking like Geek Squad, Best Buy Geek Squad showed up to fucking throw down in the pit.
Did you ever see that band Nerd Halen?
Yeah.
The Van Halen tribute band, they're all nerds. It's after that. Like
the office guy shows up and it's that meme of, if the bass player looks like this, you're getting wrecked in the pit.
Yeah. Someone's got to Photoshop water Ghoul with those glasses and like a shirt.
Oh, please do that. I would love to see that so much.
It wouldn't be a GonstFM season if I didn't ask for someone to Photoshop something,
Yeah, absolutely. The memes will never get old for literally anything to do with this band. It's awesome. So yeah, this is Monstrance Clock, and again, it's a snapshot in time, and seeing the people up front at Barricade having that religious experience. This is not right here, right now. This was right there, right then, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt that.
Yeah, they did too.
I also appreciate how this video does a great job of getting all of the aesthetic of this era in one video. You know, it does a great job of having the religious aspect with that confessional booth in the center in the beginning, and, you know, the ghouls, Papa's simplicity, and just everything is captured so well that this video really takes you back. And if you weren't there, it paints an accurate picture of what that era was like. And it really does feel like a definitive video in a lot of ways for me. And I'm always glad to revisit it. And I'm glad that while doing this episode, I got to revisit this video when I haven't in many years. And so if anyone out there hasn't seen this video for Monstrance Clock, go check it out.
And we'll make that easy for you. Go to the show notes below and click the link. You can go directly to Ghost's YouTube channel to watch Monstrance Clock, directed by Rob Semmer. So with that being said, come back next week. We are actually going to be leaving the Infestissumam era behind as we move onward to Cerise, the first single from the album Meliora, directed by Robo Shobo. So definitely come back for that one. I know all you Turzhos out there are going to be here in full attendance for that one. And with that being said, for past, present, and future episodes of GonstFM Off Air, you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. You can leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. You can leave us a rating and leave comments on individual episodes on Spotify. And if you're listening to this episode on our YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to the channel, clicking the bell for notifications for future episodes, leaving a like on this video, or leaving a comment down below. Any engagement helps. If you would like to come to a future GonstFM Station Head radio ritual, if you would like to buy GonstFM or Uncle Ghoul merchandise, or if you would like to join the official Facebook groups Ghost Cosplay or GonstFam, all of this information can be found in our show notes below. And so, our dearest Gonslings, that brings this week's episode to a close. Some of you we will see in Internet Land, and the rest of you we will see in Ghost Cosplay or in GonstFam. Take care of yourselves, and remember, until next time, in Gonst, we Tronst. I'm Papa X.
And I'm Uncle Ghoul.
And we'll see you next time.